Hey there, it's Dr. Guerrero. I just wanted to kind of give you a reminder of to what the lab write-ups will look like, the formats for those. Um, I want to remind you that your lab format for the write-up should be the very first page in your composition book, whatever it is that you're using for a composition book. And let me get to this screen. So there shouldn't be any question as to the format of the lab write-up. For example, if you were doing diffusion through membranes, you go to the laboratory tab in your class, and part of the lab handouts to print and turn in, I had you print it to the diffusion through membranes. So you click on this. Okay. This is one of many labs that we have to have written up in our composition book. Okay. The biggest mistake that students make is they just copy all of this word for word, and that's a definite waste of your time. Okay. So just a quick reminder, and I'm going to come back to this. If you forgot, the lab format information is right here, what that lab should look like in your composition book. Okay. It should be, you should have a title, you should have the problem, Roman numeral 1 problem, 2 hypothesis. Okay. And I give pretty solid directions on that. Okay. Now, this should be the first page in your composition book. All right. Going back to diffusion through membranes, I just want to demonstrate kind of what this looks like so that you're not copying everything. So diffusion through membranes. If I were doing my write-up in my composition book about this, my title, I would just keep the same title, diffusion through membranes. Okay, Roman numeral 1. Problem. And that always needs to be underlined. The problem needs to be in your own words. Oops, sorry. And that does not. So my suggestion is you read this and you figure out what it is that you're doing in the lab. This may take you 4 or 5 minutes. Diffusion through membranes, we're looking at how different molecules, ions, diffuse through a cell membrane. Okay, so you do need to put a problem here in your own words. Okay, what is it that we're doing in this lab? That needs to be there in your own words. Roman numeral 2 is hypothesis. Okay, this will also be in your own words, sorry. So based on whatever you think the problem is, okay, you make a hypothesis. Like, I think sucrose will move in and out of the cell membrane, or dialysis tubing will not be permeable to what? Okay, that is just your hypothesis. Okay. The third thing that you'll include are your materials. And you can copy those directly from the lab. Okay, so the materials can be copied directly. The next is your procedure. Your procedures are listed here. Step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it goes on to 6, 9, 12. You can copy the procedures directly from the lab. Okay, you're not making any of that up. The next Roman numeral is data, Roman numeral 5. Data has to be presented, I want to remind you, as a table, chart, or graph. Okay, so it just makes sense that you maybe copy this. You can draw this straight into your composition book. You can screenshot it and print it. However, but here's your data table. You don't have to create it. It's already there. Just include it. Okay. Then Roman numeral 6 is questions. Some labs already have questions for you. This one doesn't. So what is a question that you could ask? So what is a question that someone could ask about this lab? And you'll type out that question. You have to have a place for the answer, and it needs to be an underlined area. You can't answer the question yet because you haven't done the lab. You just need to have a question there and a space for the answer to be written, okay? The last and final Roman numeral is conclusion. And you don't have to include anything in this initial write-up because you're not doing the lab yourself. You're just prepping for this lab. You're prepping this write-up. The benefit of writing up the lab before you come to class is that you're reviewing the things that we're going to do in lab before you get there. So you're not trying to teach yourself when we're in lab. Remember also, we use this information for quick quizzes. So a quick quiz is 3 or 4 questions about what we're doing in that lab. Like what's the equipment that we're using, what process are we studying, and maybe what are some indicators or some chemicals that we're using within that lab. Okay, so even though this is a lot of copying, which I've already talked about in lab, like sometimes you just got to put your AirPods in and roll with it. It is important that you kind of remember or that you kind of review what it is that you are writing as it prepares you for the quiz. Okay, I just wanted to give you a kind of an update on what those the format of those lab write-ups would be. Remember, if you're copying it from the lab manual, like we have some labs that we copy out of the lab manual, that if you follow the same type of format, okay? If it's in your own words, make sure you write it. Don't just leave it blank because that's where the points get deducted, all right? I hope you have a great day and this was helpful to you. Talk to you later.